start being complacent. What happened to my life is that I started off being content. I started off okay with the struggle. I started off okay with the drought. I started off okay living this life, but I stopped being just okay and I started becoming complacent. I started becoming complacent. Complacent is a feeling of contentment or self-satisfaction. Self-satisfaction, especially when coupled with an unawareness of danger. I'm unaware of my calling anymore. I'm unaware of what I was really sent to do. You know what? I'm almost daring to say it's not that I'm unaware. I just don't care anymore. I lost my zeal. I don't have a hunger for it. No. Who said it? He said, like the deer panteth after the water, so does my soul hunger and thirst after thee. I'm not content anymore. I'm complacent. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm not thirsty anymore. I don't desire you anymore. So what happened is when I stopped desiring God, God brought conflict. I know this is kind of hard because we always see God as this great and merciful, all-giving sugar daddy. But I'm telling you, when God gets ready to move, he says, will you move? If you say, you know, God, I just want to hang out here just longer, every once in a while, God will have to bring some conflict to move me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. See, because I wanted God to always just say, Jason, get up, go ye yonder and preach the gospel. But what I found out is while he was whispering to me, I had so much stuff else going on in my life. I had my beats on, I had my skull candies on, and I was bobbing and rocking and bobbing, and I stopped hearing from God. I stopped seeking God. I stopped asking God. I stopped inquiring of the Lord. So what happened is he had to bring some conflict. Woo! Woo! Why did conflict have to hit my house? Ooh, see, what you have to understand, and I need to wrap this thing really up. What you have to understand is they were preaching in the church. In Acts 1, he told them to stay in the upper room. In Acts 1, he told them to wait on the Comforter. In Acts 1, he told them that once you get the power, then I want you to preach in Judea and Jerusalem and Samaria and to the other apostles. I want you to go out and be witnesses of me. It wasn't until Acts 8 that he had to bring conflict. You've been wondering why. Yeah. He let you sit. He's been saying, will you go for me now? But you were so busy rocking and rolling. You were so busy trying to buy a house. You were so busy trying to get the good job. You were so busy trying to make money. You were so busy trying to stack chips and make paper. You were so busy doing your thing that God, what's the song? Wash me over again. Wash me over again. Holy Spirit, wash me over again. And we sung that song one Sunday morning we came to church. We came to church one day and we had the old whiners in the door, in the CD player. And we sweep around your front door. And God said one day, do you really want me to sweep around your door? Because whenever you sweep anything, you stir up whenever you sweep anything, you move the things that have been laying complacent. Whenever you sweep anything, you move stuff around. And so what God is saying, when you ask me to come into your life, what you was really saying, I want you to move me out of a complacent state into a content state. And the only way God can move this thing over here is through deliverance only came to the children of Israel through conflict. Through conflict. Through conflict. They were delivered out of a famine. They had to pack up and march over to Egypt. The march was conflict. They stayed too long in Egypt, and we already knew that they were going to stay because God prophesied it already. They stayed in Egypt. Guess what happened? In order for them to stay in a place and not die off anywhere, what people don't understand, slavery did not cripple them. Slavery allowed them to grow in a stable conflict and say, God, here I am. Use me now. Because in your place of slavery, God is building your house. In your place of slavery, God is giving you favor. In your place of slavery, God is delivering. He's healing. He's setting free. In your place of slavery, I dare somebody to look around while they're enslaved by their money, while they're enslaved by their health, while they're enslaved by their situation, and just look around and start seeing God. Woo, I didn't realize the hand of God was on my finances because I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed begging bread. I didn't realize that that God was delivering me because you know what? They told me I was handicapped, but I'm still functional. I did not realize that God's hand was on me because everybody else that had went through my situation then lost their mind. They strapped up, hugging themselves. They got on a pretty white jacket with all kind of Michael Jackson buttons, and all I know is that my mind has been kept in perfect peace. In the midst of my slavery, in the midst of my issue, in the midst of my problem, God is still keeping me. Conflict. So we went from being content to being complacent. I used to wake up every morning at 1 o'clock and walk off around my house. Lay oil on every door in my house. Wake my children up at 1 o'clock in the morning because I was putting oil on their head, saying in the name of Jesus, devil, I rebuke you. They start getting older. I said, well, you know, they can lay oil on themselves. And when the devil started coming in, the God said, I never told you to stop. Every night, I used to be the last one to go to sleep. And I used to kneel by my bed. I hope I'm telling on somebody's story. I used to kneel at my bed and say, Lord, this is me again. It's Jason standing in the need of prayer. I want to come to you today, God, for my family. I want to come to you today, dear God, for my wife. But God, aside my family, I need to pray for my next door neighbor. I need to pray for 3 houses down the street. I stopped doing that, and people started losing their job. People started breaking up in their marriages, and people started breaking up with their homes. When I stopped doing that, God said, I never told you to stop. It was conflict. When conflict comes home. When conflict comes home. Conflict is not to kill you. It's only to make you stronger. Conflict is not to break you. It's only to build you up. When conflict comes home, it's only to stir you up so that you would come back to a place of knowing God. Oh, David said, before I had affliction, I said I couldn't be moved. Before I had problems in my body, he said, you know, it was me. You know, I got on this nice suit. I bought this. I did that. I paid that note. Before I lost my job, it was on me. Before they declared me legally blind, it was on me. Before they declared me I couldn't walk anymore, it was on me. But now I understand it was good for me that I had been afflicted because my affliction taught me to get back on my knees. My affliction told me to keep on coming to the house of God. My affliction told me to keep on singing unto the Lord. I might not be able to sing like an angel, but I'm going to sing the best that I know how. I may not have preached like them, but I'm going to preach what God gave me to preach. I might not be able to walk like Bishop, but I'm going to walk like Jason, the best that I'm going to be the best me I can ever be. It was through conflict. It was through conflict that I started reading my Bible. It was through conflict that I started seeking his face. It was through conflict that I started cutting out people. It was through conflict that I started shutting off things. And the only reason that I know that it was through conflict, because every time I look back over my life, how did I get this scar? How did I get this scar? And I started remembering the day that I was told to go home, and I didn't go home. And by the time I got around the corner, that dog was chasing me, and I fell in the sticker bushes trying to get away. It was through conflict. Half the time my conflict was built around my disobedience. Go figure. That God told you to get up and go. God told you not to do it. God told you when to move. God told you when to bob. He told you when to weave. But you did something else. I give my own testimony. driving down the street. God says, pull over, Jason. I was like, no, God, not right now. I've still got somewhere to be. God says, pull over, Jason, a second time. No, God, not right now. I'm telling him, no, God, verbally. I'm not saying it in my mind. I'm saying, no, God, just like I'm talking to you. No, God, I have somewhere to be. I am almost at my destination. Sometimes the devil will tell you, you are almost there, but you are really far away. And third time, God says, Jason, pull over. I said, no, God, I am almost there. I can see where, don't you understand? Sometimes you might be able to see where you're going, but God is saying you will not get in just because you have been disobedient. God tells me a third time to pull over. I say, no, God, a third time. And what happens? I get hit by a car on my motorcycle going 45 miles an hour. The thing hindsight me, it throws me over my motorcycle. I slide for 60 yards from my back to my face, to my face to my back. I break 3 bones in my body, and I have road rash all around the cross side of my back. I wake up on the floor, on the street in the midst of Italy, and I have very little Italian skills. And all I know is a guy is standing over me saying, basta, basta, basta. And all I can do is say, Lord, where's my wife? But he told me if I would just stop. God has told somebody if you would just stop a little bit, if you would just slow down just a little bit, I'm going to show you which way to go. If you would just not do that, I'll tell you who to have for your friends. If you would just wait for a little bit, I'll give you the job that works with your ministry so you can keep on doing the things that I've given you to do. If you would just wait just a little bit, I will give you Mrs. Right instead of Mrs. All Wrong. You know, sometimes we find out